Hello, we are Hawthorne Games, and you are watching our pitch video. And who are we? We are a group of passionate students with a strong desire to make something awesome that help players learn something new. We came together through our collective love of games and the need to challenge ourselves to make something we would be truly proud of. Our team consists of Aditya Abraham, our sound and technical designer, Caitlin Wilson, our 2D concept artist, also dabbling in UI, Keira Rose as our 3D artist, Natan Walentin, our technical designer and programmer, Andrea Minucci and Kieran Wu as our primary programmers, and Nicola Dau as our game and level designer, who also helps out with the producing. And then there's me, Michael Hutchison, the game designer and spokesperson, who also handles a bit of the producing. So what is Project Scrapped and what are we trying to achieve? Well, we're aiming to create a pleasurable and educational interactive experience that aims to introduce people to game development through play. A successful project would engage and develop the player's logical and lateral thinking, artistic sensibilities, and creative reasoning skills without directly presenting itself as an educational game. We want the player to feel as if they're getting good at programming and learning about game development as a whole. We want them to go through the common thought patterns that a programmer usually goes through, but in a playful, directed, and confined way. We thought that one of the best ways to go about this was to make a game where you play as a self-aware character in an unfinished game and try to fix the mess the developers have left behind. But we needed to ground this around one core mechanic to focus on, especially for the vertical slice. And in that regard, we decided to go with logic editing, where the player is able to edit the behavior of objects in the world with a simple visual scripting language inspired by Scratch and Rabbit's coding to try and reprogram the world's AI and piece it back together. The player will essentially access elements in the world such as objects, enemies, or items, and reprogram them using predefined blocks of code that they can scavenge from the environment in order to solve gameplay scenarios. The puzzle's focus is on expressive multi-solution logic design. We want to pair this with an adventure-like twist where the player will explore the world to find new areas, new items, scavenge blocks of code, and progress in their adventure through unlocking new editing permissions for various styles of gameplay. The full game would cover various aspects of game development. We thought of levels that would make the player repair broken aspects of the game like physics and collisions, edit classes with an object-oriented programming approach, and even levels that would ask them to create game mechanics from scratch. But for now we need to focus on one aspect and get it right. So we decided to focus on artificial intelligence, which is better references and is potentially more intuitive, meaning that we have a higher chance of getting it right in the time that's available to us. And that's why we are focusing on allowing the player to explore an isometric world and edit the logic of ancient golems to get them up and running again, and using them to open doors, fixing bridges, clearing paths, and eventually repairing an old dysfunctional lumber mill to get it back up and running again with the help of their lumberjack golems, which is currently in development and is just past its initial prototyping phase. We are currently looking at implementing various ways to incentivize efficient coding practices through coding loopable behavior that must be continuously maintained. And that's where the lumber mill comes into play, is the player will not only have to get it functional, but keep it that way through maintaining its production lines. Project Scrap will have you fulfilling your role by playing as a self-aware adventurer in an interconnected world. You can code the world and finish the game by turning it into a flawless masterpiece with the logic editing mechanic, all the while making friends with a diverse set of characters that inhabit the cute low-poly environments and save them from being deleted forever. Project Scrap's complexity sits between the simplicity of Rabbit's coding and the depth of Zakatronics games. We aim to resonate with young video game players between the ages of 12 to 18 that enjoy puzzle games and are interested in game development by providing them an experience that engages their reasoning skills and logical thinking. We are also attempting to bridge the gap between narrative-focused game development games such as The Beginner's Guide and mechanics-focused programming games like Rabbit's Coding and Zakatronics games, by creating an experience that delivers both a heartfelt game development story while creating a system that elicits the experience of game development and engine. Our main personas consist of Stanley Brown and Drew Preston. Stanley is a 15-year-old high schooler in their 11th and final year of compulsory education. He's looking for potential directions for what to do after leaving high school, and he has been playing games since he was a child. He enjoys gaming-related novelties in media such as trending YouTubers and Twitch streamers, and he loves Zelda games and similar adventure-style games. He spends a lot of time on Reddit, and he is typically interested and wants to improve at logical reasoning tasks in areas such as programming. Stanley is quite impressionable and is still searching for new areas of interest, especially career-wise, and is unsure about what to do when high school is over. He's interested in getting a deeper look under the hood of game development, but might be a bit too intimidated to jump straight into a game engine and wants a smoother transition to the process. He's just played Rabbids Coding and enjoyed it, but wants a deeper experience of exploring coding within a game development context through a lower level of abstraction. Drew, on the other hand, is a 17-year-old high schooler in their 12th year of compulsory education. She primarily plays games on console, but has recently transitioned to primarily use PC. She loves problem-solving challenges and typically enjoys puzzle or strategy games. She enjoys meta-media and similar games, as well as stories that incorporate meta or self-referential techniques. She's quite good at logic challenges in subjects such as maths and computer science, and she is very interested in a future in the technology industry, but is unsure as to exactly where. She's looking to put her skills to the test and wants to be challenged by problem-solving games. Drew is a bit more decisive and knows what she wants from her gaming experiences, and that is to be challenged through problem-solving focused puzzles that can test her logical reasoning abilities. She typically speeds through the beginning of games to get to the later, more difficult puzzles to accomplish. Drew has recently played other problem-solving games such as Glitch Space and Infinifactory and loved the challenges they present, and is now looking for something similar that can help her bridge the gap to Zachatronics games. For our product roadmap, we have achieved our goal of our first playable in week 5 and have had it reviewed by our industry mentors. We are currently working towards an alpha, which marks us being feature complete by week 10. Then it's on to beta in week 13, where all major content should be in the build. Then Gold Master in week 16, where we submit the game. But work won't stop there, as it will be on to Dare. For our development approach, we are using a highly agile framework in which we present at the beginning of the week what the goals for that sprint is, and then hold daily stand-ups and have an end-of-week retrospective where we produce a build, play test it together, and analyze what should be changed, what the build needs, and how our progress is so far. We then use that information to inform the next week's worth of work, while working from the backlog of tasks our producers set up. This way, we can maintain a highly communicative approach to work around the current pandemic and always maintain feedback with our teammates. Right now, our artists are hard at work producing assets to start putting into the build, while our programmers work on the core functionality and extensibility of the logic editing system, refining it to our needs. The game designers are prototyping puzzles and implementing them in Engine, while the technical designers are working on some cool virtual effects and shaders for our gameplay elements to really sell the look and feel of the game. And our sound designer is working hard producing some music and sound effects, iterating on them as we test them in the build. As you can see with the puzzle showcase in the background, we're currently focusing on working directly on the feedback received from our academic mentors and industry clients through working on the user experience and the tutorialization of certain nodes, logic, and programming patterns and the way that the player can really go about certain situations and try to find their way about the world, as well as the logic editing mechanic themselves, trying to encourage exploration and iteration of their code. Thank you from everyone here from Hawthorne Games for listening patiently to our pitch presentation, and we'll see you on the other side.